Good day, students. Uh, my name is Dr. Fashino. As you know, I've been taking you the course AC 307 Technological Innovations in Agriculture. Today, we'll be looking at the topic diffusion and adoption of technology. By way of introduction, maybe you have used perfume or a deodorant before, and you know that when you enter into a room with a deodorant or a perfume on, definitely before you know it, or you spray it at one spot or a corner of the room, in some few minutes or seconds time, all of the room will be filled with the odor of that particular perfume. Or maybe somebody farted at one angle of the class. You wonder, how do you come to smell it? Most of the time it's carried by the wind. If the wind is fast, definitely you are going to smell that odor very fast. If the wind is slow, definitely you are going to smell the odor slowly. It will come to you very late. Those who are closer to the person who farted, definitely we have the first share of the smell. And if you want to increase the spread of such a smell, then definitely you can use maybe a fan, and then you fan it high speed, and then before you know it, it is circulated all around the class. So that is just a little bit about diffusion. So diffusion in simple terms has to do with the spread of innovation. Diffusion has to do with the spread of something. And in agriculture, we are looking at diffusion as a spread of ideas. It could be technology, it could be knowledge or practices from one society to another, or from a focus or institution within a society to other parts of that particular society. That is, diffusion is in the simplest form. It's talk about the spread of something, a substance, an idea, knowledge, practice, or whatever it may be, from one place in the society where it is generated to another where it is not known. That is diffusion. And we can say is a process whereby an innovation, in this case agricultural innovation, is communicated through certain channels over time among members of the social system. Is a process. In essence, it's not something that is a dynamic activity. Diffusion is something that goes on, is an ongoing activity, a spread, and then of an innovation. And that innovation could be anything, something new in the agricultural sector that is being communicated through certain channels over time. It could be a farmer going to town or visiting the city and heard about a particular product or a particular variety. Then he comes back to the village and he shows his friends, or he gets to plant it in his farm. Others come around and say, what's this on your farm? Say, I got it from the town. And from there, they can begin to tell their other colleagues, they saw something on this farm. It may take some time before everybody in that community gets to know about that particular technology. So it will take time before it spreads all around the community and among members of the social system. So we have four main elements of diffusion. The first one is the innovation itself. The second is the communication channels that will be used. The third element is the time factor, and then the social system. Now, when you talk about innovation, you are talking about the new idea, the new knowledge, the new practice, the new variety, the new animal breed that I just come to town. That particular thing that is new in the environment. So when you talk about innovation, it's something that is virtually new where you are talking about it. It's not something that has been seen or known before. And then you are talking of communication channels, the means by which messages get from one individual to another. That's the communication channels. And when you talk of communication channels, you are talking of the mass methods, or the group methods, or the individual methods. It could be through visits, or through group meetings, or the mass media, which could be the use of radio, television, newsprint, and other things like that, the social media. These are means which messages get from one individual or one farmer to another over a period of time. We are looking at the fact that it is not something that is just happens. It's not an instantaneous activity. It takes some time for its spread to take place. So the diffusion has that element of time. And then among a social system, or within a social system, the people that are concerned, the farmers and the other end users. Now, what determines the spread, or how fast something goes, or how the innovation moves within the social system? Number one, the innovation itself determines how it spreads. If the innovation is something that is very relevant, that is of need to the farmers or to the community, definitely it will spread fast. When somebody gets it, you can easily tell other people, I've gotten the answer to a problem, or a solution to what you have been considering in our community. And before long, if it's something of very high need, many people begin to do what? Begin to get to hear about it. It begins to spread that there's a solution about what they have been having challenges with. Then if it's compatible with their practices or their culture, definitely it will also spread faster than one that people despise or is not compatible with their practices or their culture, and therefore they will not be able to even tell others about it. Then if it's something that is affordable, definitely if it's affordable, you can use it as an individual. You can easily tell somebody else that, look, I've gotten a new technology, or I've gotten something from town, and I think can also use it. So these are characteristics of innovation. And then the social system itself, the characteristics of the social system also influences the spread, or how fast a particular technology or innovation can spread through the social system. So the ease of communication within the system is very, very important. How do people communicate within the social system? Do they communicate very well? Is there a free flow of information? Do they really interact with one another? Are they free with one another? Are there no constraints or caste system that makes them not to be able to interact or talk, or just mingle with one another? So the ease at which people mingle, or the ease at which people are connected within the system, will cause a faster spread when they are well connected. Then the available communication channels that are available, that are there and that can be used. The more communication channels that are available in such a community, the better for the spread of innovation. And then if the people around also use those available communication channels, especially the change agents. So the promotional effort of the change agents using those various channels of communication is also very, very important. If the change agents put in effort in promoting such an idea, definitely before long many people will come to hear about such a technology. For example, they do campaigns, they do group meetings, they visit farmers from house to house, and all those stuff. Before you know it, everybody will come to hear about it. They go to the market, make noise about the program, about that particular technology, or give a video show, a lot of things like that. If the extension agents or the exchange agents available, if they put in their effort for the spread of such an idea, definitely we will find out that the idea will definitely spread faster than if it is left on its own, or left into the community for the community communication system to carry it. Now, what is adoption? Actually, adoption is the last stage in the innovation decision making process. It's a decision of the clientele to make full use of an innovation disseminated to him. Actually, it's like a decision whereby, or a process whereby somebody is not yet decided as to whether to use or not to use. There's a sort of indecision during the adoption process. He's still considering a lot of factors. But by the time he decides to adopt, in essence, he has taken his stand. He's no longer torn in between two opinions. He now needs to do what? Focus on one. Focus on that particular technology and leave the other technology. It's just like when a boy is wants to choose a wife, and then there are many girls, many ladies available that he feels they are worth being married to, but he cannot marry more than one. He has to make his choice. At a point in time, there's indecision. He begins to, is it this person? Should it be that person? Begins to consider a lot of things like that. But at a point in time, he now decides, for a particular person out of all the various options that he has. And so the same thing applies to the adoption process. So the adoption process is that particular process, or the innovation decision making process is that process that a person goes through before he finally adopts a particular innovation that is being disseminated to him. Now, as we said, is a process, the innovation decision process. And then you are talking about an individual or a decision making unit. It could be a family, it could be a community deciding to adopt a particular technology for their community. It could be a family decide to adopt something. It could be an individual. So it could be any unit that could make decision for themselves. Now, it is that the process whereby they pass from first knowledge of an innovation to forming an attitude towards innovation, and a final decision to adopt or reject, and then to implement the new idea. Okay. Now, adoption is in stages. Before somebody gets to the point of adoption, he has to go through some stages. Actually, it's a mental process that goes on in the mind of the individual or the decision making unit. It's a mental process that goes on in their mind. Actually, it's inside the human being or the decision making unit. First of all, they have to become aware. So we have about 5 stages before somebody can get to the point of adoption. So he must become aware of the technology. He must get to know about it, because if he does not get to know about it, there's nothing making him to want to even get interested or to want to use. So he must first be aware, and awareness is the end result of diffusion, because aware is diffusion that brings somebody to become aware of a particular technology or innovation. So the diffusion ends at the point of awareness. When somebody gets to be aware of a particular technology or innovation, yes, the diffusion has taken place and gotten to him. But after awareness, just getting to know about something, he may develop interest or he may not develop interest. Someone who is going to adopt will definitely develop interest after being aware. They want to find out more about what he has come to know about. Maybe the technology, he just saw the variety, he begins to find out, how is this variety planted? Can I get the cuttings if it's cassava, or can I get the seedlings? He begins to find out, are there particular practices to be taken or to be done for that particular technology. He gets interested and begins to ask questions. Then at the point of evaluation, he begins to look at, can I actually do it? Is it going to be better than the one I'm doing? Is it going to be more cost effective? Am I going to have more benefit than the one I was doing before? He begins to evaluate all these things. All these things are in the mind. Then when it comes to the issue of trial, after giving it an evaluation and he deems fit that in a way this particular technology is going to be much more preferable to him, he decides to now try it out. So this one is when there's a practical utilization of that particular technology or idea. He tries this out, and then in the process he begins to find out whether his evaluation is actually true or not. After the trial and he sees that this particular technology is okay, then he can go on to the full adoption. In the trial, he will just use a small area of his farm or his plot to do that kind of trial to see whether it will serve him better than what he's currently doing. So it then goes on to adoption. But sometimes trial may not lead to adoption. It may lead to non-adoption depending on the judgment of the decision-making unit or the individual. He may decide not to adopt. So that's another issue. And if he adopts, if he decides not to adopt, non-adoption may not be forever. After some time, he may decide to get interested again in the issue, in the particular technology, and then he evaluates it again and say, maybe I should try it out. So somebody who has not adopted now may be a laggard who may later come to adopt. So the non-adoption does not end, it goes back to interest. But sometimes non-adoption remains a non-adopter of the technology depending on his judgment of his trial. Then and may not also be on just his judgment, it may be some other factors that may want to hinder him or constrain him from accepting such a technology. There are various factors, like it may look at the fact that if I adopt this thing now, I don't know whether I'm going to get it next year. I don't know whether there's going to be a market for this particular technology. For example, like the vitamin cassava, many farmers adopted, and some did not adopt. And one of the reasons some gave for no adoption because they said that there's nowhere to sell them, that those who are even producing, they don't have anywhere to sell, and that many people don't even know about it yet. Many people are not aware, and they may not want to buy such kind of yellowish gari. So that's one issue about the issue of non-adoption. So those who have adopted, they may continue to adopt, or they may disadopt too. In essence, they started using it, but after a point in time, they decided to just put it off again. Just in the case of the vitamin cassava too is another example. Some adopted at the initial stage, started producing, but when they discovered that they could not sell, when they discovered that people were complaining, it's not like the other gari that has starch, is the water content is high, it does not stay much in the soil, it gets woody very quickly. When all those issues begin to crop up after adoption, many of them decided to stop the adoption or the continuous use of such technology. So they disadopted. But later they may decide to adopt after on. They may still go back to adopting it. But we find out that trial may not lead always to adoption. It could lead to non-adoption. Okay. Now, this is the innovation decision process and the various factors influencing it. You can see from the far left, you can see the antecedents and the variables concerned with the receiver, that is the farmer or the decision-making unit. We have his characteristics, his personal characteristics, and his general attitude towards change. So all these things have influence on the knowledge he gets to know about the technology. Then his social characteristics, how cosmopolitan he is. Does he visit the town? Has it traveled wide, and so on? It really has influence on the person and his level of acceptability of innovation. Then the perceived need for the innovation. That's another important thing, as we have said earlier on. If there's a need for that innovation, his knowledge of that innovation may lead him to be persuaded to accept the innovation. So then we also have the social system too, the norms. Is it compatible with the norms of the social system and their culture? Are the people in that community, are they given to a change, or they are very, very conservative? So the tolerance of deviancy, they don't tolerate deviancy in any form. They are very, very conservative. This could hinder them from also using the knowledge of the new technology. Then the communication linkage in the system is very, very important, as we have said earlier on. So all these are variables that bring about knowledge of innovation. So when somebody is in need of innovation or in need of something, he may look for how to solve his problem, and he gets information. And then all the other various characteristics also enable him to have access to knowledge about that particular innovation. Now, when he gets the innovation, that's knowledge, through various communication sources, as we can see, we have talked about the communication sources, the channels. It could be the group methods or the individual or the mass method. He goes to the second stage of being persuaded. The person begins to evaluate, just as in the adoption process that we looked at earlier on, the 5 stages. This one, the persuasion process, is the period when he's interested and is now evaluating whether to do what, to adopt or not to adopt. After that, he goes on to the decision to try it out, and so there's going to be a trial. But before that, under persuasion, we find out that the personal characteristics of the innovations really have some great influence on the individual's final decision, has to be persuaded to take on that particular innovation. For example, you have to consider the relative advantage of that innovation. You have to consider the compatibility with his other with his farm practices, and even with his culture or the norms in that particular environment. Relative advantage, the first one, has to do actually with the fact that that particular technology is much more profitable than the earlier one. It's much more maybe easier to do than the earlier one, or than the former one. Is much more profitable than the former one. So these are relative advantages of the technology. So then look at complexity. How difficult is this particular innovation? How difficult is it to understand or to practice? So the complexity, does it have a lot of processes, a lot of steps and stages they need to do? The more complex an innovation is, the less attractive it's going to be for farmers. Then the triability. Can this innovation be tried out? Can you use a small portion of your land to do it? If you cannot try something out, then the opportunity for you to be able to decide whether it is beneficial or has a better advantage than the other ones may not be there. For example, a tractor, you can't just try out a tractor because it's a big machine. You can't use it small, in small bits. You have to just buy it as a whole, and then it goes into millions. So definitely, you may not be able to try out such a technology. So the triability will also determine how well they can compare with the other technologies. Then observability. Can they observe the various advantages of this particular technology? Can they see evidence that this particular technology is better than the other ones? So for a technology to be easily accepted, or for an individual to be easily persuaded, you must be able to observe and see that that technology is better than the other. So after he's been persuaded, he takes a decision either to accept or to reject. So he tries to, at this point, there's going to be a sort of trial whereby he tries it out to see whether he can accept it or reject it. So when he accepts it, that means he adopts. After the adoption, he can continue to adopt, as you have said earlier on, or he can discontinue the adoption. And why do we have a discontinuance of adoption? It could be because he has a new replacement, another variety of technology has come out that is better than that one, and so therefore he has to remove that and then take on the new. Or he just feels that I'm fed up with this enchantment with that kind of technology. So that has to do with adoption. Then after if it does not adopt, he goes to he rejects the particular technology, but rejection may lead to later adoption, or he may continue to reject that particular technology. But after the decision, there's going to be a confirmation. In essence, it continues to do what he has decided to do. And we see that all of this takes place over time. It's not something that happens in a day. Sometimes it's not in 2 days, not in a month. It could take some years, or it could say some period of time before a farmer goes through this process and then is able to maybe finally take his decision to adopt or to reject the technology. Now, with regards to how fast people adopt a technology, which has different and various reasons we have talked about, we can categorize individuals into five based on how fast they adopt. The first categories of people are those in the innovators category, and they just constitute 3% of any population. Innovators just constitute 3%. They are those who are the outgoing type, really want to try something new. They really want to lay their hands on new. They want to set the pace. They just want to be ahead. Those ones are innovators, and most times they are those who are well educated, who have the money, the resources to be able to risk something, or they have big farms so they can try it out. So those are the innovators. After the innovators, you have those who will be the early adopters. They are also similar to the innovators, and these ones are about 13% in the population. Then we have the early majority. After the innovators and early adopters have adopted, the early majority comes up. They are the ones who feel that people have adopted, it's working. They also quickly want to cash in to take advantage of being new in adoption of such a technology. So you have the early majority, which are 34%, and then also the late majority. We find out the early majority and late majority, they are in the center of this particular groups of persons. And so the early majority and the late majority, they have the same percentage. So we have many people who will be in the early majority. We have also many people who will be in the late majority. Those who after the early majority have adopted, they also see that this thing is working. It's beneficial. They also want to take it up. And then finally you have the laggards. These are the people that they will wait for everybody and everyone to adopt. They want to see the outcome. They want to see how it's going to come out, and then they will look at all the various factors. They don't just want to try anything. They are very conservative. They don't want to take risk. These are people sometimes who may not be able to, who may not have big farm size, or they are not that rich, or their income level is very low, and because of that they feel that to try something must be very, very careful, so that they don't lose out totally when they have been getting some little income from what they were doing before. They are not sure whether this one is going to bring out something new or something better, so they want to just maintain what they have been having. But actually these are the laggards. They will definitely adopt, but it will take a longer time before they adopt. They constitute about 16% of those in the population. So you can see the graph that it is a normal distribution. Many will fall into the early majority and late majority. Those ones at the extremes are the outliers, those that actually they stand out, but they are not usually much in any community or any population. So as you go towards the left, you have those who have the high propensity to adopt, and as you go towards the right, you have those with low propensity to adopt. In essence, they tend to resist such innovation. This is the end of our topic, diffusion and adoption. It's just an introduction so that you can have an idea of what diffusion and adoption is all about. Thank you. God bless you.